Hi y'all, welcome to Tootie Talk Sense, and I am Tootie. So let's discuss right away. I wanted to spend this episode discussing the Harry and Meghan documentary. So they first came out with um, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then I think yesterday they dropped 4, 5, and 6. So what I was noticing is that when they came out with episodes 1, 2, and 3, everybody only talked about what she said with her about her father. That Harry said that he blamed himself for the loss of relationship that she had with her father. So, and I'm like, that was episode 3, and that's like the last 5 minutes. So I said I'm just gonna do a rundown. So I wrote it down to try to keep organized, right? And this is just going to be a summary. So I wrote down a summary, key points of what had happened in each episode. And maybe I'll throw in a little commentary if I could remember. So it starts off with saying the interview, it ain't even saying, it's words. And it says interview before August 2022. So right away, I'm like, when the queen died? You know, because y'all saying this for a reason. So I'm like, what they saying, what they're saying is that all the interview, all this was taken before the queen died. Now they may have been a little bit vocal. I want a after the queen then died special, because now they probably could come tell what they got to say now. Okay, but that's how it starts. Interview before August 2022. So they say that the approval rate for the queen is between 60 to 80%. So it was like it has to be that high because it's a monarchy. So you have to have people like who's in charge in order for them to keep being in charge for that long of a time. Because you see everywhere else where there's monarchy, dictatorship, whatever that it may be, they get overthrown. So you have to have a very high approval rating in order to keep the people in line. So and the what they believe is that God selected this bloodline, and this bloodline is who's to selected this bloodline to rule over people. So it says in December 9th, 1992, Princess Diana, which is Harry's mother, separates from Prince Charles, Harry's father. So they said in 1995. Now this interview becomes important because they refer to it the all throughout the docuseries. They refer to this interview that Prince Diana did in 1995, where she states how difficult it is with the paparazzi. She have always had problems with media. Would go and request they show clips of Princess Diana actually going up to the media and asking them, hey, as a mother, can you respect me as a mother and give we let y'all take y'all pictures? Can you now give us time to ourselves? You're a stranger, buy my kid feminine. It's a little weird. Can you just respect that? I'm asking you as a mother. So she said and she requested they leave her children alone. It became worse with the separation because she did not have the royal palace protection. So after she said after she separated from Prince Charles, she didn't have any protection that she had. She thought it was bad when she was with them, when she was in the royal palace or in the royal family. But that was at least that how bad that was. That was with protection. So once she separated with him, I guess they pulled all their protection, just left her out there solo dolo, and left her out there to dry. So she gave an interview in '95. She was deceased in a car crash in August 31st of 1997. When she was getting chased by the media, that's how she ended up passing the car crash, and she passed. So Prince Harry was around, I was 12 years old when his mom died, but they was told that you must fulfill your royal duties. Yeah, the royal people, the royal family is not an emotional family. You need to go out there and continue to smile, shake hands, and show no emotion at the funeral, because that's what royal people do. After his mom died, the media began harassing the kids like they did the mom. He was sent to Eton a school around 13, 14 years old. That's when a lot of stories about Harry began to hit the press, about him doing drugs, about partying, and stuff like that. He says some of them was made up, which makes you know some of them wasn't. But he was doing what kids do. So Harry got into it with a photographer after leaving the club. He takes the camera away from the photographer. After that, he goes to Africa, but it seems like they shipped his butt to Africa. Like, we done already sent you to this boarding school and you ain't behaving. Let's go ahead and ship him to Africa. But his mom too, Princess Diana, did have affiliations with Africa and for the AIDS awareness. So he take up the AIDS because his mother would visit every year. So then it goes to where how Harry and Meg met, which was one of a friend that knew him. Like she I think you're like this girl. Meg was over trying to be single. She was up there having a hot girl summer, out traveling. She didn't say hot girl summer, y'all. I said that. She was out traveling the world and everything. She was like, she did not want to be in a relationship. This is time to find herself. So when the friend like, oh, well, you should meet, you should go on a date, she was hesitant. End up meeting. It was Prince, and they had a good relationship for a while because they kept it hidden from the media. So I have in here him and Meg, which is Prince Harry and Meg, go and live in the tent for 5 days at the meeting. So that's why. Oh, once they met and they had their date, I think they met again one more time after that. And then the next time they meet is over when they live in a tent. It was 5 days after they met. They went and lived in a tent for 5 days. So in October 2026. So they give you more background into the story of them meeting and how long they was together and how they would have to like sneak around. Or, it wasn't really so much sneaking because she was only there for, I want to say, like 2-3 days. Then she had to go. I think she was living in Canada. She had to go back home. So the times that they would meet, it would be her coming over there to the UK because it was easier. With him, he'll have to have all the security and blah, 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 blah in order to travel. So it was easier for her to travel. So it was easier for them to keep the relationship secret because she would come in. Did nobody know who she was or what was going on? So it was easier for her to sneak in to go visit him. Instead, if anytime he leave, they're going to follow him. And then they'll eventually know where he was going. So it's easier for her to sneak in. So is it the October 26, 2016 is the story break on their relationship, and that's the end of episode 1. So I said the part I wanted to discuss from this episode is that they never identify her as black or biracial, but from the moments the UK tabloid pick up the story, they report her as being biracial or mixed race. So what I was saying, the little note that I was saying myself, what I noticed in the first episode, they never talked about her race. They never said anything about she being biracial, she being mixed race. It's not when we introduce it's all her friends and everything that they was interviewing that they were white, and the TV show that she was playing on, I don't think they specifically cast her as a white woman, but they didn't know that she was biracial. I don't think she tried to keep it a secret. I think she just lived her life, and you would assume that people knew. If you're used to being black, I never come out and be like, oh y'all, I'm black. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm black. I've been black all my life. So it's like you don't have to identify as it. That's what I'm thinking happened there. And then in this episode, in episode 1, he states that Meg warm and love. He said that Meg being warm and love for her kids remind him of his mother. And I've seen people say, "Oh well, why you want to marry somebody who remind you of your mama? That's weird." How's that weird? I didn't understand that part of other people saying when they're doing reporting on this documentary, docu-series, whatever, was that that's weird. How is that weird? It's all I have always heard that women marry their fathers and men marry their mamas. For her to be warm and have a relationship with her kids, where she's taking care of her kids, looking at her, ain't that's what you want in a wife? So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe people just trying to look for stuff to get mad at. So the episode 2 starts with it. Starts with how the media follows them. And then it goes to Meghan mom. And Meghan mama is a beautiful black woman. When she got the locks going and everything, beautiful. So I heard, I was listening to, I want to say Tasha K. I know a lot of y'all don't like her, but I don't agree with a lot of stuff she says, but I do find her entertaining. So I was listening to the way she covered this, and she was like, and her mama's just as dark as me. And that lady is not. That lady is a more lighter brown lady. She's not a dark complexion lady, but I don't know what that would matter and why people even care about that. But her mom is a gorgeous lady either way. Well, how her mama got with her daddy, don't know. Because even the old school pictures of her daddy, he's a fat that weight got anything to do with it. But the mama is a slender, beautiful woman. He's look like a fat gap, glasses. I ain't never seen him in shape. Don't even look like when he was younger with the mama because he got baby pictures of Meg on. He's always a heavy set man who looked like a nerd or whatever. I think she said he worked behind the scenes doing lighting and stuff in Hollywood. But my mom, to me, have always been out his league. Like, how you pull that? But anyway, they go into the American coverage of the information that Meg and Harry is dating, and nowhere does it mention her race. It seems like from her acting career, it was not known in America that she was biracial. Okay. But she was loved by the media. But then Canada. She was loved by the media. Then she was in Canada, and she had the press hat came. She was in Canada. The press hat came. She smiled, waved, took a picture, and everything. Then in the UK, it started being reported that she loved media attention, and she into it for the media, and she want the fame. So then Meg House in Toronto became surrounded by UK media. Well, the prince wasn't even out here. The prince was back in UK. And everything, the media became so racist in the UK that 8 days after their relationship went public, the prince had to put out a statement about the racist coverage that his girlfriend is getting. And they was like, you have to understand that 3.5% of the population is black, but even less, 0.2% of the journalists are black journalists. They like, so they're coming to tell these stories to a white audience and white journalists, and then when they're running it by the editors and everything, they're not finding anything wrong or racist with what they're saying, and it is. But you're just telling them that you don't have that outside voice or black person around to say, hey, that's messed up. And even if you did, that one or two is outnumbered. And a lot of times, especially when it comes to your job and people are in their career and they need to feed their family, they're not going to speak out against stuff that may be wrong. Like some people. Some people will, some people won't. But, you're not going to put yourself on the line for that. When the coverage of a media start be like, hey, that's a little racist. You see how you covered this, and now how you covering this black woman, you don't see the problem. You can't connect the dots. So it said never discuss race in the U.S. because I believe the U.S. media believed she was white. From her childhood pictures, she's obviously mixed. When you see her childhood pictures, they see she was a little chubby, had a little weight on, looked like growing up. She said she was always into the arts, and she was a very smart girl. She was like, I was never the pretty girl. I was always the smart girl. And you can see her thick curly hair. She looked like a biracial kid. Her and Harry shared experience from being from divorced parents. Her parents had got divorced. Of course, Diane and Prince Charles had got divorced, and they shared experience, and they talk about how they share experience from being from divorced parents. So she said it took a lot for her it took a lot for them to see each other. Like she had to change everything, her whole way of being, because she's used to being out. She's used to taking pictures. She's used to posting. She was like a free flowing person. And then once she got with him, she wasn't able to do all that because protocol. So she said in there when she was talking about what type of person she is. And this is a note I made. I took particular notice of how she said when she met William and Kate for the first time, when William's wife, his older brother, and his wife for the first time, that she's a hugger, and that was jarring for the Brits. So reading between the lines, the hugs was not reciprocated. The formality on the outside carried into the inside. That's what Meghan up said. The formality that they had on the outside, that they would, everything had to be this type of way. That on the inside, they were still like that when you close the door and you're supposed to be just family. Where you would assume, we have our work voice. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. What can I help you with today? That when you come home, a lot of us don't be talking like that. Like, what it is, girl, we finna get in tonight. You know what I'm saying? So she expected that, and I was like, if you take note of that, you could see from the beginning that brother and that wife, what she was saying was they were never welcoming and friendly. They was formal, they were polite, but they was never welcoming and friendly to her. That's my point of view. That's the way I took it, y'all. Watch and see what y'all say. And she said it was weird that she would have to bow and curtsy to the grandma because that's your grandma, family. But I guess it's still the queen, and I had to realize that it's the queen. But first time meeting your grandma, I'm gonna have to bow and curtsy. So they thought that the biggest part of the biggest problem would be that she was an actress. And they didn't think that, they thought that the biggest problem would be that she's an actress. Y'all didn't think that race thing would be a big problem? No, that she's an actress? That's what y'all thought? I think y'all went in that blind from the beginning. And then in this episode, they did say that her agent didn't even know that she was black. He was like, once he found out, because she was working on Suits, because I didn't know much about Meg. This documentary is probably the most I knew about it. When I seen the wedding, of course it was on the media, so you're like, oh, what's going on? And I didn't understand. I'm like, what's the big deal? Because he married an American. Never didn't know that that she was black. And oh, she's an actress and she's on this. And I seen the little went and looked up the pictures and see the TV show she in. Oh, okay. Just assumed it was a Caucasian woman that he married, and it's a big deal because she was American. Then found out she's look into it more and found out she's biracial. I'm like, makes sense. Makes sense why they tripping. Yeah, messing up them people. Whole way of thinking, oh my gosh. Like when they said, I remember the news story about, oh, what color is the baby gonna be? Do you see how light Meg is? And she getting with this ginger. What color do you think that baby gonna be? Casper. Y'all. Anyway, it says in that episode that her agent didn't know she was black once he found out. I think they wrote it into part of Suits that she was in. Didn't watch the show. Don't know. So, said November 2017 is when he wanted to propose. He had to ask his grandma, the queen, for permission before proposing. So, in 2016, reports warns that culture war in UK. Same time their relationship became public. So when their relationship became public in 2016, there was a whole almost, the media was warning that there would be a race war because it was very, toxic. People was going back and forth. It probably did protests and things like that about race. Same way in U.S. Because those are the origins. Where you think these racist people in the U.S. get it from? They had to make Britain great again. Trump's like Trump 2016 Make America Again slogan. And that episode ended with Meg believing that it would be better after the wedding. She got, oh, it's new, it's fresh, and so, it'll get better after the wedding. So, next is episode 3, y'all. I may have to break this down into a part 2. But I'm going to do 1 through 3. I just watched 2, so I just watched the second portion, which is episode 4, 5, and 6. But I think I'm going to run out of time. But let's march on, okay? So, we get episode 3, and it's November 27, 2017. It's the interview with Meg and Prince Harry engagement. So they said it was rehearsed. So this interview, I didn't see this interview coming from the U.S. because I wasn't in tune with them like that. I mean, who cared? So if you see the interview, I guess they said it looked like they was come out and I guess in a garden and everything, and then they sit down with the guy to have the interview. But she said that whole interview was rehearsed, and she wasn't allowed to tell their story because the royal family didn't want them to. Hence is this documentary that they're doing. Everybody like, why are they making a documentary? Because they want to tell their side of the story. It's just been media posts, and then I think she did a interview with Oprah. Well, this interview will have to be first because it's after the proposal. Then an interview with Oprah, and she really feel like she haven't got a chance to tell their side of the story. So during this interview, she was like, it was rehearsed. I get cut, redo it. It was very rehearsed, even though it didn't appear to be. It was very rehearsed. So then they go into saying that Britain has a black princess. Then it goes into the history of slavery in Britain. And it was saying that Britain has a deep South that was just as brutal and enslaved more Africans than the U.S. So they were saying Britain has a deep South. You know how deep South is, Mississippi, Alabama, things like that. We all know that what happened during slavery there. So they saying Britain has a deep South, and they enslaved more Africans than the U.S. They said, but they deep South was the Caribbean. And it was overseas, out of sight, out of mind. Like in the U.S. and the deep South, Alabama and things, you would go on plantations, you would see it and everything. With Britain, theirs was over in the Caribbeans. So if like you would go to Britain, you ain't seeing that. You ain't seeing the slavery and everything because they kept their slaves in the Caribbean. So as Jamaica becomes incredibly profitable center for the British slavery, and North Carolina and other states with tobacco. So slavery begins to fuel the British Empire. They make all their money off slavery. The first slave voyage was personally funded by Queen Elizabeth I. And it continued to be financed by kings and queens up to abolishment. 1807, British abolished the slave trade. In 1830, you heard me, they abolished it in 1807. 1830, British abolished the slave empire. Slavery was abolished, but slavery was abolished, but slave owners was compensated 20 million pounds for their human property. Did you see that? Not slaves. The slave owners was compensated $20 million. Mid-1920, Britain went to Caribbean to recruit people to come and do low-income jobs like bus drivers, nurses, and things like that. They went to the Caribbean where they had kept all their slaves, and they got the former slaves from the Caribbean to bring them over to Britain to do their low-paying, low-income jobs. So then they go to the to December 1st, we're fast forwarding it to December 1st, 2007. It's 6 months to the wedding, and they do their walkabout, and they talk about what's all involved with a walkabout. Meg had never heard of a walkabout before. That's where they go around shaking people's hand, y'all. So this is the end of episode 3. What they did not, and they tapped on him. When I tell you tap, they tap just like that. Tap and put it right on back, baby. They did not go into details discussing the prince. And when he was 20 years old, the prince wore a Nazi uniform to a party. And there was pictures of it, and it made it to the news and the papers and things of that nature. So the prince said he was very young and he regretted it. And, I guess he ended up doing an apology tour, and that was it. I would have wanted him to say why. He said he learned, I think he went to museums or went to talk to people to learn about, the history and what all that was. So I I understand that you went. I understand that you learned. I understand that it was a mistake that you was young. What I would have wanted to know was why, regardless of how much trouble you would have got into. But if we want, because then that would trickle down to say if he had this thinking at 20. And he did all this relearning, re-educating, and now he engaged and everything, get engaged to a black woman. What at 20, where did that come from? Where did that piece come from? Because then you will understand, y'all, this is a heat pad. Been at work, working, baby. Working finger to the bone. So then you will understand that, where that comes from. How we shock and the British people, they're shocked about this racism and everything that they showing to this black lady. Now, I'm going to come back for part 2, y'all, because I got to get up out of here. But that episode 4, 5, and 6, they get into it, baby, and they tell the details about that racism and the way the media works and how the brother and William and Harry end up falling apart, and it lets you follow the dots that you just like, I knew it. He didn't want to say too much about the family. That's why I said I want the after the queen and dad, because this episode 1, they said all this was taken before August. Y'all, that's my dog Wanny, and I gotta let her out. So this was taken before August 22. August of 2022. The Queens died September 8th of 2022. So baby, I know they can get more details now. Well, I know the royal family is still in place and everything, and they'll still want to protect them. But it seems like Harry was more closer to his grandfather and his grandmother than he was his father. Now, he used to have a close relationship with his brother, but since this stuff didn't happen, him and his brother and his father been exchanging some words, baby, been yelling matches. And now that his grandma gone, because his grandfather had already have passed. Now, that's going to be talked about in episode 4, 5, or 6. They talked about how his granddaddy passed and how close he was to his granddaddy. But, and now his grandma gone. He was already mad. That'll be talked about too. He's already mad because they was keeping him from his grandma once he got with Meg now. So I said they need to do one after, because I want to see that, baby. I want to see that it's on and popping. I ain't got to keep my mouth shut, because the people in the royal family who I care about how they feel about me or ruining their reputations are gone. I'm finna tell it all, baby. They need the uncensored tell it all Meghan Harry 2.0 version of this docuseries. Because they had them watching the docuseries, like right there, I had said that, but what I really wanted to say was that this old turkey neck, because I know Meg want to talk about that wife and that brother, because later in the episode, she was like, you know what, that's your brother. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I said, oh, she got some words for him, baby. She got some words. But y'all, I'm gonna come back and then I'm gonna cover episode 4, 5, and 6, and that was the end of the docu-series. Get my little opinion, say how I feel. Y'all comment, like the video. You got time right now. Like the video, comment, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know what else y'all want me to cover. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.
You melt the ice.